Ever since the age of 12, I've been weirdly obsessed with chasing aesthetic physique. Now, when you're 12 years old, you don't really know what is or isn't possible. And so you look up how to get abs in 10 minutes or how to use these shortcuts in order to propel you forward. And then you quickly realize that these are complete bullshit and it actually requires much more work than you think. However, at the time, I didn't believe that you could actually create an aesthetic physique just using body weight or some equipment at your own house. And for an entire summer, I decided to give it a shot with my cousin when I was like 12 or 13, and I was actually able to put on a decent amount of muscle. Now, when I look back at something like this, I obviously would do things differently, but it does go to show that you can put on muscle even if you have no freaking clue what the hell you're doing. So the point of this video is to give you a sense of what the hell you're doing. So we're gonna structure out a format, what equipment you need, so that you can get aesthetic in the comfort of your own house. So before we hop into the actual exercises and the different ways in which we can structure that, it's important that we need some form of pull-up bar and a backpack. I know y'all are probably studious, so you have a backpack, but if you don't have a pull-up bar, you could go on Amazon, they're like 20, 30 bucks, and so it's 100% worth the investment. Now, when we notice someone that is extremely aesthetic, it's typically not just because they have big muscles, it's because it's proportionate. They don't have massive shoulders and then skinny legs, or a big chest and skinny arms. It's just naturally proportional to one another, and so it's important to set up a routine or a workout that highlights all of these different muscle groups. We're gonna highlight them from looking at the shoulders, the chest, the back, and then the good old legs. Now, when I was younger, I thought I was Arnold, so I could split up my workouts based on just individual muscle groups and spend 1 hour doing shoulders, the next day doing 1 hour doing chest. But it's extremely inefficient, and honestly, it's not good for most people. And so the best way that I have found to break it down is in a push-pull-leg sequence. Yes, we can sit here and argue that a upper-lower split or a full body split is better depending on how much time you have, but in my experience, a push-pull-leg split is the most effective. Now, any exercise that's put in the push group is either your chest, shoulders, or triceps. Any exercise that's put in the pull group is considered back or biceps. And then finally for legs, I don't think it's rocket science, it's just legs. So if you're about to do a push workout, the best exercises that you can select for that is a pike push-up, push-ups, and then a lateral raise. A pike push-up just looks like you're ramming your forehead into the ground from an awkward position. This one's extremely good for the shoulders because you can progressively work towards almost being straight up vertical, like a handstand. But then if you need to regress, you can just lower your knees, lower your hips so that there's not as much pressure being applied to the actual shoulder. Now for push-ups, we could probably write an entire book on the amount of variations there are, but I typically stick to 4 different variations. That is an explosive push-up, a normal push-up, feet elevated push-up, and then an archer push-up. So if you remember for push, it was shoulders, chest, and triceps. And I typically will finish my workout with a superset or a circuit of some sort that just highlights the muscles that get overlooked a lot, which are the lateral delt, which is kind of what gives someone that wide look, and then the triceps. Yes, they get involved in a lot of these compounds, but I kind of just like to isolate it, do a quick circuit, and just kind of go on with my day. For lateral raise, you're just going to use some backpack or weight in your hand and lead with your elbow as you move out to the side. And then for tricep, I typically stick with a tricep dip because it just uses my body weight and it's easy to progress depending on the position that I put myself in. And if you're about to do a pull workout, the best exercises that you can do are a pull-up, row, and everyone's favorite, a bicep curl. Now with the pull-up, there's so many different variations that we can do as well, but we're gonna stick to 4 main ones: neutral, overhand, underhand, and then the weighted pull-up. All of them really do target the lat, but depending on the specific hand position that you put it on, it'll either target your bicep more or some part on your back more. And for the row, I will use a backpack in kind of a split stance so that it really focuses on each individual side. This one is really good for developing your mid back, but also stability of the lower back. And then lastly, for the biceps, I'll typically just grab a backpack and curl as many times as I can for 3 to 5 sets until my arm feels like it's about to fall off. And then that'll pretty much be the workout for the pull day. Now, I purposely saved legs for last because it's everyone's absolute favorite. And this one has so many different muscle groups, so it can get a little complicated. But I just like to break it down into glutes, quads, and hamstrings. So the exercises that we're gonna select for the legs, just target each of those 3. The best exercise that you can do for the glutes at your house is the single leg hip thrust. This one is just incredible at highlighting each individual cheek. If it gets too easy, you can just add a backpack on there and just load it a little bit more. The best one that you can do for your quads is the Bulgarian split squat. I still go to bed nervous because of how much pain it puts me through, but it's seriously the best one for growing your legs. And then for the hamstrings, it's a little more complicated because the muscles cross 2 different joints. And so we can highlight those muscles with an RDL, but also a hamstring curl. For the hamstring curl, this one we have to be a little bit creative. You can either do a Nordic hamstring curl, which you kind of need another piece of equipment for that, or you could just lay on your back and walk your heels out and walk them back in so that you can really focus on the hamstring curl. And then for the RDL, it's a little bit easier because you can just do this with a backpack in your hands, hinge your hips, push it towards the wall, and then come back and squeeze the glutes. You should feel kind of your hamstring activate there. Now that we know the different exercises and the actual structure in which we would do these workouts, it's important to have a way of measuring what the hell you're doing. Now, if you just did those exercises in that format and just went on with your day, you would see tremendous results. However, if you're not measuring or you don't know how many reps you did 2 weeks ago, it's kind of hard to know if you're actually progressing or getting stronger and being able to put on more muscle long term. So the way that I like to format it is based on 3 months. On the first month, I'll focus more on higher reps between 10 and 12 reps. On the second month, I'll focus on the middle range, 8 to 10 reps. And then on the last one, I'll focus on 6 to 8 reps. The reason I do it like this is because over time it forces me to use more weight, but also track kind of how much I did. If I'm using the same weight that I did on month 1 for 10 reps and the same weight that I'm using on month 3 for 6 reps, I know that something is probably not going right with my programming or my nutrition or my sleep, just something. And so that it really allows me to know, hey, okay, I'm probably doing something wrong here. So traditionally, most people will do a push-pull leg rest, push-pull leg rest, but I kind of just rest when I need to rest and I listen to my body. It's kind of hard to know when you need rest and plan for that. Some people can make it work, that just doesn't work for me personally. So I might do like push, pull, rest, and then legs, and then one other week I might do push, pull, legs, rest, and then keep going like that. So it just depends on what I'm doing for that given week. Am I super busy? Do I have a trip planned? There's just a lot of variables that it's hard to take into consideration for if you want to be like, I'm doing push, pull, leg, rest, push, pull, leg, rest. We're not robots. It's kind of hard to stay consistent with that. So let me know if you have any questions on how to format or structure or exercise selection.